Hello children, I hope you are all happy and safe. Welcome to this special English hour. Here every day we will be learning something new in a fun and interesting way. So would you like to get started? Then come join me in a dance. बच्चों प्लीज खड़े हो जाइए और मेरे साथ एक डांस में जुड़ जाइए.
Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, jump, jump, jump. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, walk, walk, walk. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, dance, dance, dance. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, roll, roll, roll. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, jump, jump, jump. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, walk, walk, walk. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, dance, dance, dance. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, roll, roll, roll. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, jump, jump, jump. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, walk, walk, walk. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, dance, dance, dance. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, everybody roll.
Children, now I would like to ask you a few questions. Let us share our thoughts and ideas. बच्चों, अब मैं आपसे कुछ सवाल पूछना चाहूंगी. Which is your favorite subject? आपका मनपसंद विषय कौन सा है? My favorite subject is science. Do you like science? क्या आपको विज्ञान पसंद है? I like science because there is so much that we learn about the world around us from science. Science teaches us how the light shines in our class. Science tells us about how the light bulb in our class lights up. It tells us so much about our planet. It tells us about how plants grow. It also tells us about the other planets around us. Isn't science just amazing? Yes, that's why it's my favorite subject. Now can you tell me the name of the person who studies science? क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि विज्ञान की जो पढ़ाई करते हैं उनको क्या कहते हैं? They are called scientists. Do you know the name of some scientists? क्या आपको कुछ वैज्ञानिकों के नाम पता है? Let me tell you the names of some famous scientists. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and C.V. Raman. These are some of the famous scientists. Why are scientists important? वैज्ञानिकों का महत्व क्यों है? Scientists are very important as they study science in depth. They conduct various experiments and invent new things. Let me give you an example of a scientist. Have you heard the name of Thomas Alva Edison? Yes, Thomas Alva Edison created the light bulb. But before creating the light bulb, he hundreds of times experimented on creating it. It was his final invention after years of trial and experimenting. Now that we know that science, scientists and experiments are so important to create something new, to invent, it's very important to also know where all these experiments go on. Experiments are conducted in science labs. Probably your school may also have one. Have you seen a science lab? Come, let me show you. What do we find in a science lab? Yes, we find the following objects in a science lab. In a science lab, we find beakers, glasses, big round-shaped glass bottles, chemicals, tubes, microscopes, computers, etc. Since we are talking so much about science, scientists and experiments, let us do our own small little experiment here. I would like you all now to follow my instructions. First, we need a comb. You need to comb your hair with this comb for a while, at least for 15 seconds. Come, let's give it a try. Children, did you just see what happened? When we comb our hair with the comb, there is static energy created. When the comb went close to the sheets of paper, they immediately got attracted and stuck to the comb. Many a times it so happens that after you comb your hair, when you hold the comb near your hair stands because it is attracted towards the comb by static energy. With this simple activity, I hope we all have understood what an experiment is. We all know that words are very important for a language. I would like to share with you a few new words. Please take a note of them in your notebook, and while we are reading the lesson, you may come across these words once again. Try to understand their meaning there. Puzzle, puzzle, puzzle. Hailstones, hailstones, hailstones. Freeze, freeze, freeze. Damage, damage, damage. So what are the new words we learned today? Puzzle, hailstones, freeze, damage. I hope you are all excited to read the lesson now. Please open page number 7 of your English Bal Bharati textbook. We will be reading the lesson, Your Own Book of Science. If you have a textbook, please point to the words as I read. And if you don't have a textbook, please listen carefully. While we are reading, please keep a check of the new words we just learned earlier today. Your own book of science. You may come across simple but amazing science experiments in magazines, newspaper supplements, or on the internet. Collect any 5 to 8 experiments you like. Ask your parents, teachers whether the experiments are safe. Then carry out the experiments. If necessary, take the help of your parents or teachers. Record the experiments on separate sheets in your own book of science. An example is given below. You may come across some simple experiments given in magazines or in newspapers. Please show it to your parents. Ask them if it is possible to arrange for the materials at home and if it is safe. If your parents find it okay to conduct the experiment at home, then take their help and try doing these small experiments. I'm sure you will enjoy it. After doing the experiment, please note down on a sheet of paper what were the items you used, what was the process of conducting the experiment, and finally, what was the outcome? What was the result of the experiment? Will you try to do that? Please do. A simple experiment like lifting ice. If you wanted to lift ice without touching it, what do you do? Read on to find out. So now there is a simple experiment given here. We are asked, how can we pick a cube of ice without touching it? With the experiment, we can find out how. What you need: ice cubes, thread, common salt. What did we learn with this little experiment? इस छोटे से experiment से हमने क्या सीखा? We learnt that we can lift a cube of ice without touching it. We can do this by applying salt on the ice cube and then lifting it up with a thread. Wasn't this a simple experiment? How did it begin? It began with a question. When we question any simple thing that happens around us and we experiment to try and find out why it happens, that is where an invention takes place. That is where we are able to understand and learn more. So let's look around us and try to see what are the other questions that we would like to answer by experimenting with them. You may have other questions that puzzle you. Note down at least 10 such questions on the basis of your observation of things and events in your surroundings. A few examples are given below. Where do flowers get their color from? Why are leaves green? Why does chopping an onion make you cry? We see many things happening around us. And when we question why a particular thing happened, we try to understand more about it. A small example is when we chop onions, we get tears in our eyes. Some of us cry a lot, don't we? So, do we question why does this happen? If you question this, you can also do a small experiment to understand why it happens. So note down at least 10 such questions based on the observations of your surroundings. Observation is when you look at your surroundings closely. Note each question on a separate page in your book of science. Draw suitable pictures or paste related photographs on that page. Try to find the answers to your questions with the help of your parents, teachers, or friends. Make use of science journals and reference books to find the answers. You may find the answers on the internet with the permission and guidance of your parents or guardians or teachers. Browse through the informative websites. You may find some of the answers you need in your textbooks or in other informative books. Note down the answers on the relevant pages. When you have collected a few experiments and answers to your questions, put them all together in your very own book of science. So what are we asked to do here? अब हमें क्या करना है? We can create our own book of science. But how do we do that? We can begin by noting down the questions that we have on the observations of our surroundings. When we have these questions, we can note one question on each page. With the help of your parents and your friends, try to find the answers to these questions. You may find articles in newspapers or information on the internet. Try to make cutouts of these and paste it in your book. If it requires an experiment, try to do so with the help of your parents. And then try to see that out of all your questions, how many have you been able to answer? Puzzles in your surroundings. Why does it hail even in summer? We feel very hot in summer. The sun shines brightly and the temperature is high, and then suddenly there are clouds in the sky and it starts raining. Not just water, but even small balls of ice. We say it has started hailing. What is the question here? The question is that why do hailstones fall when it is very hot in summer? In summer, during the whole day, it is very hot. But then suddenly we see that it rains and also there are hailstones at that time. Why do hailstones fall? Come, let's find out. As we move up from the land, the temperature begins to fall. Up in the sky, it is very cold, even in the hot season. You know that there are water particles in the clouds that we see in the sky. Very high up in the sky, the water particles in the clouds turn into little bits of ice. When it is summer, a lot of heat falls on the earth. It is very hot. But as we move above the earth, the temperature begins to fall. When it is summer, the heat of the sun falls on the earth. The earth becomes very hot. But as we move above the earth, the temperature falls. There are water particles high up in the sky. These water particles turn into ice because it is very cold high up there. These particles then become heavy and fall on the earth as hailstones. Sometimes there are strong winds in the clouds. They push these little bits of ice upward, so they do not fall to the ground. They go up and collect more water particles, which freeze onto them. Thus, the tiny balls get bigger and bigger. They turn into hailstones. The heavy hailstones then fall to the ground in the form of a shower. Little particles of water high up in the air where it is very cold turn into ice. These ice particles attract more water particles till they turn into hailstones. These hailstones become heavy and fall on the earth like showers. Very tiny hailstones melt before they reach the ground. They turn into raindrops. But some hailstones reach the ground before they melt. A light shower of hail can be great fun, but a hailstorm can cause great damage to crops, plants, and animals. Very tiny hailstones melt even before they reach earth, but bigger hailstones damage the earth. During hailstorms, animals, plants, and crops are damaged very severely. Maharashtra was hit by a series of hailstorms in 2014. The hailstorms devastated thousands of acres of standing crops. Fruit crops were ruined. Birds and animals were killed and injured in large numbers. Farmers suffered heavy losses. It was a great natural calamity. In 2014, there was a heavy hailstorm and many crops in state of Maharashtra were ruined. There was a lot of damage caused and it was a natural calamity. Natural calamity is when there is a lot of damage caused because of natural causes. Today we read about science and experiments. Let's do another small experiment on our own. Okay, then let's start. On your screen now you will see an image. Tell me, what do you see? Were you able to see any alphabets on the white sheet of paper? How did these letters magically appear? This was a simple experiment that I did. I took a simple sheet of paper and then I took some lime juice. I dipped a cotton earbud in the lime juice and with that I wrote alphabets on the white sheet of paper. Allow the lime juice to dry on the sheet of paper and after around 10 minutes for letting it dry, you can hold a candle below the sheet of paper just to give it a little heat. With the heat, the places where you have put lime juice will all turn brown, while the rest of the sheet stays white. Wasn't that interesting? How on a simple sheet of paper, no one can see anything written. And then just by giving the heat of a candle below the sheet of paper, you can see the message appear. Now in this way, you can also send secret messages to your friends. I hope you all liked the experiment we just did. Now let us learn something new. When we want to say simple sentences like, I went to school. My brother goes to school. These are two separate sentences. But when we want to join them, we use a special word. Let us try. My brother and I go to school. We were able to join the two sentences using the word and. Let us try another sentence. I wanted to go to school. It rained heavily. I could not go to school. I wanted to go to school, but it started raining very heavily. So, I could not go to school. Do you see how and, but and so helped us to join sentences and make it a longer sentence? These are called conjunctions. Conjunctions are joining words. On your screens, now you will see a few sentences. Read the sentences carefully and decide which joining word do you want to use. The joining words have also been given to you as options. Okay, let's try. Children, I hope you were able to find the answers. Come, let me show you. The first sentence is, Ron laughed cheerfully out. And is the conjunction here. Second sentence, she is poor, but she is kind. Third sentence, Emma asked me a doubt and I replied. Fourth sentence, Tina and Tim are best friends. Fifth sentence, I was tired, so I went home early. Children, I hope you all liked today's session. Today we read about experiments. I would like you all to once again read your lesson. After that, please ask your parents and try to conduct a simple and small experiment at home. It can be anything, but make sure that it is safe and your parents are around while you conduct the experiment. Children, till we meet next time, please take care, stay safe. Bye-bye.